Okay guys, Terrenzo here. Welcome back to my channel. Yeah, AI again. So this is a topic that's going to keep coming back up over and over again. Sorry guys. Um, Honestly, I underestimated just how quickly AI is coming. I really did not expect it to come out so quickly. But this is an important topic that we really need to talk about. But before that, just a very quick update on Clip Studio. I did want to talk about it over the weekend, but I didn't have time. I was busy. So anyway, Clip Studio announced that they are no longer implementing their image generator function. So that's good news. For those of you who aren't aware, Clip Studio was going to implement this image generator based on an open source code called Stable Diffusion, which itself was using a dataset that crawled all over the internet, and thus most likely, or most definitely, contains a whole lot of images that were taken from artists without their consent. And so after that, Clip Studio received a whole lot of negative feedback. Well, that was a surprise. And they're no longer going to implement this image generator palette. So that's absolutely great news. And so that shows that we as a community, as an art community, can pressure these companies to, not undertake these terrible practices, at least for now. So, yes. So this is incredibly important. So it shows that we have, as a community, we can stand together and do it. So let's just jump. We need to talk about it, right? So let's just talk about AI. So one of the main problems I always see people talk about is, one of the main things people say is, oh, AI is just a tool, right? AI is just, it's just a tool. And so, like all tools, you can use it for good and bad. But I feel like that's quite an understatement of what AI really is. It's not just a simplistic tool, because a tool doesn't just go out and produce a whole bunch of work, right? So just look at this, guys. Just look at this. I don't even know why DeviantArt has AI art on its top. I guess it's just because a whole bunch of people are uploading it. But if you just scroll through the DeviantArt AI page, just look at all this crazy stuff. So this is not just some kind of set of numbers, right? It's not just random numbers that magically created artwork. These are things that are based on information that, obviously, that information has to come from somewhere. And that information comes from your sweat and blood. Every single artist, they've made art, and that's fed through an algorithm, and that algorithm spat something, a new, different amalgamation of it. So one thing I like to think about, the way I think about AI, go about thinking about AI, is that it comes in two parts. There's the algorithm, which itself is like a mathematical equation. And then there's data. That's the fuel. So the algorithm, that's the tool, that's the machinery. It's like a car. And data is like the fuel that you put into the car in order to run the car. If you don't have fuel, the car doesn't run, right? So in a similar vein, if you have this stable diffusion, but if you didn't have a data set, if you just inserted a whole bunch of zeros, what do you think stable diffusion is going to produce? It's going to produce a blank canvas. So the algorithm itself, that to me, you can call that the tool if you want. But the data, the fuel of it, that's not a tool. That's a person's private data. That's what's fueling the machinery, the car to move. It's like saying, if you say AI is like a tool, that's like saying well, car plus petrol is a tool, therefore I can just go all around to whatever fuel station, just put it in for free, right? Or, you know, like just and I know that's a bit of a weird analogy because a artwork that you can upload, you're not really taking it from someone, and then that's just the whole piracy argument now, isn't it? So, just, imagine this. Imagine if we were, say this, like if someone created an algorithm that was just going around Pirate Bay or whatever, they're going around downloading all of these movies, putting it into an algorithm, and then producing new Pixar movies, and then just uploading all over the internet, and then just saying, oh, well, it's just numbers, guys. It's just numbers. Do you really think Disney is going to sit back? Do you think Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, all these big Hollywood companies, they're just going to sit back and say, oh, yeah, guys, that's just numbers. We're not going to do anything. Hell no. It's just going to be lawsuits all the way up the arse. So, AI is not just a tool, guys. It's more than just a tool. Because, your artwork, everything that you've done, that's the fuel. That's your work. Okay, your sweat and blood. Your work is not a tool. Like, it's not. That's your private information. That's your right. That's your private property. That's your right to keep, or give away, or buy, or sell it. But it requires the artist's consent. That's the whole point. An AI cannot function if there's no input. If there's no input, there's no output. You get it? So if Stable Diffusion did not have this fuel source, which is the artwork, then all it can ever do is produce a blank canvas. Okay? So you need to feed it something. You have to feed it something to get something back. If you don't feed it something, it gives you nothing. And this information, it's a converted version of, and this is my other issue that people keep saying, is that, your artwork, once it goes into the algorithm and then it just gets converted into the numbers. It just gets converted to numbers. No. Now I work in software as well, so I do know a little bit of this stuff and math. It's not just numbers, okay? When you store artwork, digitize it, it gets converted into in a set of numbers, but that's numbers in a form of information, and that information, once it goes through the algorithm, it gets converted to another form of information. But that information is not destroyed, okay? It's not destroyed, it's just converted to a different form. It's just taking all of your artwork and then sorting it into a set of numbers that the algorithm itself recognizes it as your pattern. And then when it wants, it can work that equation, that mathematical equation, which is very complicated, run it backwards, and it produces an artwork that's in your art style. And that's exactly how, as you can see right here, as I scroll through this AI artwork section of DeviantArt, that's exactly how it produces this. And this is because it has all of that information stored in the form of numbers. Now, this would never work. This would never work if there were no information. The information is not created or destroyed. It has to be taken from somewhere. It has to be taken from somewhere in order for that to work. And it's taken from, people all over who's uploaded their artwork all over the internet. All right, guys? So I hope people can actually really understand that, when people bring up this, it's just numbers. They don't really understand the math that goes behind creating these AI algorithms. Like the math can go forwards and backwards, and it's like an equality, right? It's like conservation of energy in physics. Sorry if I'm getting a little bit nerdy, but it is like conservation of, conservation of energy, conservation of information. You put information inside, and then it gets changed to a different form of information. But the information is still there. It's just in a different form. And then you can run that in reverse to produce this, obviously. So this is not random numbers, guys. If you're telling me like something like this is just random numbers, you're insane. This is not random. These are patterns. These are patterns stored as numbers. And it's information that's produced by, surprise, human beings. Oh. So, what can we really do? I think that's the next question that's on everybody's mind. What can we really do? Well, this is quite tough. Admittedly, it is quite tough. I don't really have a good answer because obviously, this is coming up so quickly, and there's not much as a few individuals can do. But I think understanding and being able to start the conversation on this argument that, AI, that your data is not just a tool, that your data is not a tool, that's your work, and that's your private information, number one. And number two, that's not a tool because it's a fuel. You have to feed it something. Like, if you want to argue that the equations, the algorithm without the data set, if you want to say the algorithm itself is a tool, fine. But if you want to say the algorithm plus the data set, that's a tool, well, no. Like, that's not a tool, okay? It's not like you've bought a car and then you can drive to a fuel supply and just say, oh, well, like a petrol station, and then just say, oh, my car's just a tool. I get to get free fuel, right? I get to get free fuel. No, you don't get free fuel. Like, you have a television. You don't just get to say, oh, I get to turn on my television for free. I don't have to pay for electric bill. Of course you have to pay for electric bill. That's not free. So artwork, you have to think about it that way, guys. It's like, yeah. And so that's that. Yeah, I think that's about it. So if you like this video, feel free to like, share, all that. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.